So Austin, we got to spend some time building out this report, figuring out how to make it so that there's a follow-up, same way that you use for Comfort Consult.
Yeah.
It's really
The
missing, and I
follow-up, I
feel
think, is huge on those.
well, I think your closing ratio, if you have something after a free quote that reminds people and they can tangibly refer to it over and over again.
Yeah.
I think your closing ratio goes up.
Yeah, I could see that. And I feel like that even for the comfort consults that don't close like immediately, the report does a good job of at least giving them like a game plan and scope of work moving forward.
Right. Well, and they pay for the comfort consult, so they don't feel nearly as grateful.
Right.
Whereas what you're doing with a free quote is yet another effort that basically further distinguishes you guys as different from everybody else. I mean, that seems to be what the free quote is doing. Is the homeowners are saying to you guys, none of the other guys asked me any of these questions. None of the other guys explained any of this to me. None of the other guys helped me understand that my equipment in my house could operate the way the equipment in my car operates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
None of them helped me understand that even though I had 4-ton system, I only have 2.25 ton of ductwork. So I'm, not getting more than 2.5 ton anyway, or 2.25 ton. Like all of those things, I think people are really appreciating.
I always get that in the form of a question of people going, why doesn't everyone else do this? Why doesn't everyone else ask these questions or do these tests or explain these things to me? It's always more of a, like, to them, they're seeing it as like, this seems like it's so clear that this is what should be done. It's so obvious that it's like, why? Like, this seems crazy.
Yeah. Tanner, have you done
your response to them is, we agree.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Tanner,
Austin.
have you ever ran like a Path A with a blower door by chance?
A free quote with a blower door? No.
Yeah, so basically like just free quote with blower door. Yeah. I was just curious.
Mm-mm.
I didn't know if there was anybody else really doing that. I know Ronnie. And then I'm just curious.
No.
Well, yeah, so Reedy's doing it.
Reedy is too?
I think Reedy is doing it.
Gotcha.
Do it
because other people see this. Typically what happens to cause that to happen, Austin, is it's a tech turnover.
Yeah.
So the thing is sold by somebody else.
Right.
And so are you talking more about like deconverting a comfort consult to a free quote?
Yes.
Yeah, basically that's what it is, right?
Okay.
Like you go into like a comfort consult and like the situation's kind of skewed, whether it might be like a no heat or a no cool or something of that nature, to where you're kind of like basically you're kind of doing the path B, but really you're just doing the path A with the infiltration.
Right.
Okay.
And it kind of goes with what you were saying earlier about like having curated packages.
Yeah.
Because I feel like in those comfort consult conversions, a lot of that is the clients getting the infiltration of the home, and then you're just educating, and then kind of off, like what Tanner said, you're kind of offering packages, like curated.
I wonder if you could.
You're with a blower door, you're able to tell them you are very likely to be in the green because you're 1-to-1 or less.
Yeah.
So
and without actually giving them a load calc, you just say, oh, you're very low risk of being in the yellow or the red.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Well, I
Tanner.
mean, could you not? Yeah, that's and kind of what I was also thinking of doing it that way. You might could even have a what would I don't know, could some like you say you go into the comfort consult and you do the blower door test, and then it's like, oh, hey, uh, you're
You're
actually in
tight.
pretty good shape. You're pretty
Yeah.
tight. How about this? Instead of us continuing this comfort consult that you paid $500 for, how about this? I'll take off, $350 and we'll just convert this to a different path and go, and then you kind of just like sway it back into the
So
free quote
so
because then
you
it's
could do that as the owner, but these guys work for a company that has a service called a comfort consult that they sell for $500, and the tech gets paid $100 for selling that. So what they're doing instead is they're saying,
well, yeah,
we're going to pivot, and if you go forward and buy equipment from us, we will credit you the $500 towards the equipment, because that way they're not taking the money out of the technician's pocket.
Okay.
And Tanner,
The only way to cancel a comfort consult on a technician that sold it is if they missold the comfort consult. If they've appropriately sold the comfort consult, they deserve the $100.
And I've when I first started doing the like conversions, I did what you were saying, Tanner. And like what I kind of got from that was it was all, and maybe I did a bad job like communicating it to the client, but it was almost like if you relay it that way to the client, it almost like devalued the comfort consult, if that makes any sense.
Feels like a bait switch. They're like, if you're not careful.
Okay, then if it wasn't that important, then why are we doing it?
Yeah,
type thing. And it was like, okay, so that's when like I basically now up front, I'll just, if it's like a no heat or a no cool, if you want immediate answers, then we can expedite the process and forego, and I'll give you the Path A report and basically forego the big
B
report.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Because then they still get the value of because the infiltration is important, and you might uncover like like a chaseway or something that's like super,
crazy,
fixable, that's attributing to the issues. But and then for the most part, it's dehumidification, filtration, and kind of back to what you were hitting on earlier, those kind of do no harm things, that the 6 functions, right?
Yeah. In which the whole crediting it back, I mean, that definitely sounds like probably the best way to do it, because my mind just went to thinking like, okay, well, I knew you were, the techs were getting $100 for these turnovers, so you still don't want to just lose out on that $100. But and I'm also, it's kind of hard for me because I'm stuck in my own perspective of not thinking, big company, red tape, not easy to maneuver, because my mind just kind of goes to like the explanation to a client of going, hey, well, we've done like this test is really the most important thing. So if you're willing to just save me the hassle from having to do all this extra work for this report for you, what if I just give you X dollars off and we just slide into my Path A and we go from there?
Yeah.
But with it being like that,
with that, we're jumping to knowledge that we know, which is that a house's load calc is really pretty tied to its square footage and the blower door. And so if the layer is low, you're at very little risk of having some unforeseen. Right, Austin?
Yeah. I mean, all the experiences I have with doing it that way, and this time of year, I'm doing a lot of those conversions just because a lot of the instances are no heat or no cools, or systems performing really poorly, and people want them replaced like basically
Stat.
immediately.
Yeah. So if you had a report like the Comfort Consult report, would that? So I never trust your closing rate because you do so many Comfort Consults. And so I don't know if you feel that's representative of how you're doing or not.
Yeah, I ran a lot of Comfort Consults last month, and out of all of them, I had 5 people that elected to do the full report. Everybody else was converted to a Path A with the blower door.
And they sold.
Majority of them, yes. Not every single one of them, but majority of them, yes.
And if they didn't sell, you got the $500.
Yeah. And then one out of the 5.
That's all good, right?
Yeah. One out of the 5, I ran the return visit last week, and it's on an old historic home. And they're going to do a project in August.
Oh,
we just don't know what it's going to be.
The conversion wasn't necessarily for them to get the information. It was more like, this is what what Tanner was saying. This is what we really needed was a blower door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those guys, like I said, they elected to go through the full process, and it was just an old. Okay. Yeah, that house is at like a 2-to-1, I think. It was an old historic house, leaky house, and they were borderline CPP. I kind of quoted the CPP really high because
it's going to be a nightmare job.
Yeah. So I quoted that like really, really high, honestly. But I think they're going to encapsulate their crawl space regardless. And then the replacement, the HVAC's got to be basically completely redone.
Okay. So if they want a CPP, it'd be more appropriate after a year of having the crawl space and the new HVAC.
Yeah.
They do that then anyway, because you'd be like, okay, how did this? What's missing?
It would have been the best time to do their attic like 2 weeks ago or not 2 weeks ago, probably like a week before I did the Comfort Consult, because they had bats in their attic, so they had to get all their insulation pulled out.
Oh no!
That would have been the best. That would have been the best time, but they got all of it pulled out and then blown back in.
Oh geez, of course.
But yeah, I think that will end up being a good job though.
Okay.
Just not till August.
Well, thank you for coming.
Yeah, no problem.
Do you have any other stories you want to share?
No, I think last month went pretty well.
Yeah, so I was actually sort of hoping to talk to you about that revisit, because you do a good job of sort of explaining how it went. Do you want to explain it to Tanner?
So I did a Comfort Consult. What's that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I did a Comfort Consult. It was the end of the summer last year. And I think it was like a 2,800 brick home on a crawl space, mainly first floor. Then there's like 2 dormer rooms upstairs. House was slightly over a 1-to-1. So I put in I recommended electrification. He declined it. House is on a ventilated crawl.
So before you go any further, so he missed out on what?
On reheat.
So you missed out on reheat dehumidification by going with a hybrid.
Because humidity was important prior. Dehumidification was important, right? So we ended up, ductwork was an issue. The supply trunk line was only sized for about 800 CFM. It was duct board, trunk line, and the crawl space, right?
Mm-hmm.
So give options, and he wanted 5-stage equipment. So since we weren't electrifying, he at least wanted to go dual fuel. So it was 2-ton 5-stage or 3-ton 5-stage. Due to duct work, we went with a 2-ton 5-stage and a 60,000 BTU gas furnace is an MN7. So fully modulating gas furnace and 2-ton 5-stage.
Because
so
we
put that in
for the 3-ton.
Yeah, we put that in as we're putting the and then all the flexes and the flex branch lines in the crawl space were super saggy. They had 12 branch lines or whatever, and the installers went and bought 12 boxes of flex and didn't cut a single branch line. So we pulled all of them tight. Yeah, we pulled all of them, and then we dampered all of them. And as we were doing that, inside of the trunk line was like coated with growth, like the whole thing, all the way through. So I give them the option. Then we can like it. And like I said, I recommended in the comfort consult to encapsulate the crawl space. And he said no. So I said, okay, well, we sent him pictures, showed him pictures inside the trunk line when it happened. And I was like, well, this is here. What do you want to do with it? We could leave it if you want, or now's the time to replace it. We're here. So we can like it. I'll put in the same size trunk line you have, or he has like a lintel wall. I was like, we could redesign this thing and resize it, and I can extend it past your lintel wall and turn it and cut down some branch lines or whatever, right? Like a redesign of the trunk line. He wanted to like it because it was cheaper. And we went back with ductboard because it was still a ventilated space and he didn't want the sheet metal to condensate. So then wintertime, we do all that. And his wife had really bad allergies. We do all of that. His wife comes off her allergy medicine. Like it fixes her allergies.
Works.
Wintertime.
Oh, wow.
Wintertime comfort, perfect. No problems in the wintertime. Summertime rolls around, so far, like early summertime, good. Then we started hitting like consecutive, like 94, 95 degree days.
So stop here.
And in the middle.
Wait. So that everybody watching understands, your design temp is 91.
Yeah.
And so you're hitting consecutive 94s. Okay,
yeah,
keep going.
And the hot peaks of the day, the house would slip. So the main floor would slip. I think it was 3 or 4 degrees or something like that. And then the upstairs would as well. And then but the humidity in the home was like 60% humidity in the house. And that this is AC running all day long. Not shutting off.
Continuous. So continuously pissing. And it wasn't
and the humidity's still that high in the home.
Yeah.
So I go back out there. I kind of started from scratch, like started from square one. Went over everything with them. Talked to them about the humidity, how it was. I ended up getting in the crawl space with the psychrometers and just reading what the humidity was in the crawl space, which it was high in the crawl. And then I got out of the crawl and I went to him and just asked, okay, so what do you want?
Something happened to your microphone.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's better.
So then I just asked him, what do you want to do? And he's like, well, I don't want it to slip and I don't want the humidity to be high in the house. And I was like, okay, well, this is a 2-ton unit running all day long. It still can't pull the humidity in your house below 60%. Because the maintenance tech went out and did just did the PM. He took a bunch of pictures of like humidity and stuff then. So I had it what it was at a different day versus what it was live when I was there. And it was consistently at like 60 or higher inside the house. And I was like, oh, well, say I put in a 3-ton unit, it will satisfy, but your humidity is still going to be high. So then we had a conversation of like root cause versus symptoms and all of that. And then initially at the end of that visit,
might be higher If it satisfies and shuts off, your humidity might be higher.
Yeah, exactly. So then the end of that conversation, which I thought originally was going to be rough. Like he was going to be like, I'm pissed. I just spent 20 grand, ripped this unit out. I want my old one, that kind of thing. Ended up being, I give them doing the comfort consults. I have companies that I work with that do like crawl space encapsulations. So I got him in touch with those people. He got 2 other quotes from different companies, and then got some quotes for spray foam for the upstairs. And he's going to encapsulate in his crawl space, and got a dehumidifier, and then he's going to DIY the upstairs.
Oh, that's awesome. So he's pretty happy.
Yeah, I think it went well.
Yeah.
Because he's going to live there. He's going to live there forever. So
yeah, and thank goodness
it was
you had documented all of those things that had been offered to him that he declined, or he could have just been one of those unhappy clients that most companies just try to throw money at until the people go away.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that problem doesn't even get solved. So the people go away after the company's throwing a bunch of money at it. The people go away unhappy.
And I think the way that the process did it and then explained it all to him, because he understood the situation very well. Like you put in, and the other thing was his duct pressure on a 2-ton system was like 0.6, pushing like a 800 CFM. So again, you put in a 3-ton unit, now your duct pressure is increasing. So it's like
yeah, what are you going to do?
You need to go.
You're going to burn up
go
ECMs?
after the source. Yeah, you need to go after the source of
the moisture,
of the humidity issue, which will also benefit in air sealing as well.
And then your comfort, you won't mind that the house slides a couple of degrees if it slides a couple of degrees, because the house will be dry and comfortable.
Yeah.
That was good.
That's awesome, really good. Right? Isn't that a great story?
Yes. I guess when you hearing you tell the story, I just imagine all the people who like to scream, oh well, what happens if things don't pan out and you just get sued and you lose all this money and blah blah blah. And it's like, this is an example of like how that actually
plays out.
Like if you actually do what you're supposed to do and you handle it correctly, like that's what it is, because you gave him the options. He said, I'm going to pick this, this, and this. I'm going to go against a few things you said, and it played out. They're getting what they want. They're happy with it. It's not this immediate like fighting battle of like everybody trying to point fingers at one another and just fighting it out in court. Like that's what happens if you handle it extremely poorly, and the homeowners feel like that's what they have to do. But by establishing that relationship and doing it that way, they don't feel like that they're having to go to war when they, discuss things with you and deal with these things. And so that was great. That was amazing.
And it wasn't so much as a pointing the finger type thing, which was kind of surprising. It was more turning to me and asking like, okay, so now what do we do? What do we do
what's the next step? I remember a year ago you said if there continue to be problems, we would get together again.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so now you're calling me to get together with you.
Yeah.
It's just a wonderful state of relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that all is possible when you don't go in and overpromise and underdeliver. I mean, that's
when
really
you're the guide and not the hero.
Yeah, if you go in and you're like, oh, if you go with me, we'll solve all your problems. We'll do this and we'll do that and blah blah blah. Like if that's how you go in, that's why people get mad when you don't live up to those, unrealistic expectations.
Exalted.
Yeah, when you go in it the way that you did, Austin, and things don't pan out because you couldn't do everything that you wanted to do. Well, this is how it plays out. It's a, hey, we're calling back because we're going, oh man, that thing you warned us about, it happened. What do you think we should do now? Rather than, hey, you did all this work and now it's not working anymore and blah, blah, blah. It's night and day difference. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and just coming the way that you present it, it's kind of like you said, not over promising, under delivering. Like giving. Reedy hit on it a couple weeks ago when he was talking about something with, I believe, his daughter with her knee or something. A doctor giving her like odds of success with the surgery.
Yeah.
Because I've learned, like, I had a comfort console about a year ago that didn't go like all so well. I mean, it was a shitty situation. It was like a single house, like 10 people lived there. And like everybody had different comfort levels in the home. Like it was just a nightmare situation. Only met with one person during the comfort consult. Like it was rough, dude. But so I've learned that to be almost like reversing it in a way of being very like blunt, on certain situations. And I feel like it worked out well because, like, especially with me already recommending the crawl space, needing it prior, and then revisiting it again, and then going over like the leakage on the home and having that report there. Because like when I got there, the first thing we did was sit down and go revisited the report and went over it, which I feel like that was super helpful. So like even if we go to path A and still have a report like that, hypothetically somebody does call back a year later, then you could revisit that call, I guess, in theory, and revisit that initial report instead of starting from like scratch, or starting from scratch.
Yeah.
But you would already, I guess, it's already documented in 2.0, the path A. So I don't know, just thinking out loud.
So that one with all the people in it and all the TVs and all the rest of that.
Yeah. Since I mean, it was that was like a one-off.
Yeah, but you recovered, didn't you? Did that one? Yeah. They're happy too, aren't they? Do you want to talk a little bit about how that went bad and then you recovered?
That one, I mean, it was like a series of unfortunate events. Like the initial install, there were hiccups because we did a little bit of duct modifications in the attic. Like it's a house on a slab, 2-story. There's no way to access like 2 of the branch lines. So 2 branch lines split off and service the whole first floor. And then one piece of 12-inch round pipe goes up to the attic. So we just adjusted like what we could get our hands on, like put a trunk line on it and stuff. And all the bedrooms are upstairs. So you have 10 people upstairs in a 4-bedroom house. And every different room is a different comfort profile. And you only have a 12-inch duct worth of airflow to distribute throughout all of these rooms. So that you can only do so much.
Yeah.
And I mean, the house was relatively tight. They went with good equipment. It was a 5-stage piece of equipment. And I mean, we went out there. I did a little bit of balancing what we could, and they were okay with it. At the end of it, it ended up coming to, they want more airflow upstairs, and me coming and saying, okay, well, I have to replace that duct that goes to the upstairs. So in order to do that, like we'll work with you on the pricing, but we're going to have to open up drywall. And it's okay now. Like they don't want to do that. Right. So now they know. And that was hinted. I guess I didn't do a good enough job. In hindsight, I could have done a better job explaining that. But like, I was like, I can work with as much air as we're getting. So I should have probably told them, you may need additional duct modifications after the time of install and stuff like that, right? Like even with duct pressure, for example, anytime going from PSC to ECMs, like I can't tell you what your duct pressure is going to be because I just know it's going to go up, right? If we're doing like for like equipment. So I feel like it didn't go well in comparison to our typical comfort consoles, but it still didn't go like the homeowner still didn't call me and say, "Hey, we're pissed, rip this out, we want our money back." You know.
Yep, that's what you're aiming for. That's what you're going for.
Yeah, and I probably should have. How many people live here? 10. Okay.
Wait,
Is there
what?
any way? Is there any way more people in the home can be present during this visit? If not, is there a time and date we can reschedule when more people can be available? I think sticking to that is, and me and Ted were talking about that a little bit the other day. Some people just don't read that what to expect email, right? And maybe if they read it,
send it though anyway, right? Because you can always point back to it and say, "Hey, what more can I do? I asked you.
Yeah,
you disregarded it."
But even like, having everybody there, I feel like is huge. Or even like in your instance, Tanner, the you ran where the comfort consult didn't go all that well just recently. Those people weren't there because of a time restriction.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like a lot of those visits go based off of availability and how deep the homeowner's willing to kind of like dip their toes in during the thing,
right.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to wave a magic wand and solve all their problems if they don't engage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think what I should have done is I should have made it like who I talked to on the phone, of being very clear of like, okay, you're going to be there, right? So then if I can at least get her there. So then if anything else kind of happens, because then, she's the one that seems the most invested. I can then say, if everybody else is starting to leave, I can be like, hey, well, I'm kind of worried about not really getting enough information, that something's going to get missed and it's not going to meet up to your expectations because of that. I mean, how do you think we try to mitigate that? Put it on to her of like, hey, we scheduled this thing. I can reschedule it for a fee, but this isn't what we agreed on. What do you want to do? Do you want to just say, I'm sure we can scrimmage enough information and go from there and it'll be good enough? And if that's so, not going to be mad at me, right? And I could have done it that way. But with the person that I was talking to, he didn't care either way. And so I didn't have that to really play. It was more of just like, well, I've kind of screwed this up, so I'm going to have to just scavenge and make the best of it. If I tell this guy, I'd be like, hey, it sounds like I might not be able to help you. He'd probably just be like, you know what, you're right. We're just going to another reason to level it. We'll see you later.
Yeah.
Thanks for the $500.
Yeah.
I'll send you your report.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. This is a good good meeting. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
No problem. Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we will log off. Sounds like we've made it an hour and 40. We're 40 minutes over what we intended.
Oh, wow.
Pretty good.
Well, all right. Well, thanks for coming, everyone. And we will catch you 2 weeks from now.